So, hello everybody and welcome. Yes, welcome back here at BSN Network. You back here, BSN Network. This is the BSN Network podcast here today. It is Friday, September 3rd. Hopefully everybody's having a day so far and a good rest of their day yesterday. It is in fact Friday, September 3rd here today, coming off of a not too much sports on yesterday. We had some college football on last night, which was nice. Had the Mets on as well against the Marlins. Mets got the job done, so slowly finding their way and they're getting some wins. And, you had some college football on, and you also had some more baseball. So, Yankees day off, as we all know, yesterday, but the Mets were on, and we all know that the Yankees will play today against the Orioles. As you can see, very obvious, I'm in a new setup. My old setup right now is going to be out of commission for a little bit, so this setup is not anything that's going to be for sure. I don't know how long I'm going to be using this setup. I might make some changes. My other setup is going to be out of commission for a little bit. I don't know how long. Hopefully sooner rather than later, as I really like my old setup. My other setup, I should say, not my old one, because it's going to be my one going forward. But I like my other setup, and as you can tell, I'm in a different one. This one I kind of just threw together. It doesn't look great. It's not the best, but it's the best I could do in the time that I had before I could make another video. I apologize. I was not able to make a video yesterday. I was actually kind of in the process of moving my setup and making changes to it, so I was not able to do a video yesterday. But I am back today. It will be the regular schedule moving forward. I'll take the weekend off, and then we'll be back on it on Monday. So this is kind of the setup for now. Like I said, my other setup's going to be out of commission for a little bit. I don't know how long. My hope is that it's going to be back sooner rather than later, but we'll see. I mean, I will tell you this, by the beginning of the NFL season, I'll probably be working out of a different setup. And like I said, this setup I kind of just threw together. I usually have one big table. This is 3 different tables, so this isn't great, but it's the best I could do for what I had, what I'm working with here. I might make some changes, like I said. I mean, very well, I could come here, on Monday, I could very well have a completely different setup, but we'll see. For the time being, this is going to be the setup for today. So definitely a little weird, I know. It doesn't look great. I was thinking about not even showing the setup and just doing a video where it just has my logo on the screen and you could just hear my voice, but I figured, you know what, I'll just do this, and for the time being, I'll do this, and then eventually I might just do it where you could just hear me and maybe just see my logo on the screen and that's it, or something like that. So that's what's going on here. New setup for a little bit. We'll see how everything else goes, but same show and same sports talk here. So as we all know, Yankees play today against the Orioles, open up a 3-game set, and this is a big opportunity today for the Yankees to go out and win. I mean, it is John Means on the mound for the Orioles, and he's a pretty solid pitcher, but this is an opportunity today for the Yankees. I mean, the Orioles, we've dominated them in the past. We play well against the Orioles. We've always done well against the Orioles. So this is kind of one of these games where it's like, this is an opportunity for the Yankees to go out, have a good game, and, take the game today. You got games tomorrow and then on Sunday as well. So it's a big opportunity for the Yankees. It's against the Orioles. They're not a good team. It's a big opportunity for the New York Yankees to go out and say, hey, you know what, we won with the Angels. And I know I missed yesterday, so I apologize if I'm going to talk a little bit, maybe a couple things that may have already happened. But we beat the Angels on Wednesday, which was great. I like that a lot. And then now an opportunity to build a little bit of a win streak. And I've said this so many times now with the Yankees. You look at our upcoming schedule, it is very easy. I mean, there's a lot of really winnable games. The Red Sox won yesterday against the Rays, which is crazy. I can't believe I'm saying this as a Yankee fan, but we need the Red Sox to win right now to beat the Rays so we could get in front of the division. But they beat the Rays yesterday. So little by little here, the Yankees are still finding ways to win and getting the job done. And as we all know, the Mets won yesterday as well. So Yankees and Mets today. Mets will play again against, it looks like actually Mets have a day. So Mets will play Nationals today. I believe the Mets and the Nationals have like a 5-game set this weekend. They got some double headers. They got some single games. So we all know how the Mets schedule has been this year. It's been super crazy. It's been super weird. It hasn't been normal at all. It's been definitely, very, very crazy. So we all know how the Mets schedule has been this season. It has not been normal at all. It's been wild. It's been all over this place. So they play the Nationals today. Then I think they have some doubleheaders, and the Yankees play against the Orioles today as well. It was great to see college football back yesterday. I'll tell you that for sure. It was great. Minnesota, Ohio State. That was a good game too. Going into that game, I was expecting a blowout. We were all expecting, I think, Minnesota to get crushed and Ohio State to win. And, all fairness to Ohio State, they went out and dominated, towards the end of that game, especially the fourth quarter. They really picked it up. But, Minnesota, you can't let it go. That score, 45-31, was not how that game went. That game was a whole lot closer than 14 points. I mean, the Ohio State was trailing in the third quarter, and they really just turn it up. And that's a lot of times what you see. You see a lot of times teams struggle early in the season, your first game, new quarterback. But they turn it up in the third quarter, they turn it up in the fourth, and they won. But it should not be denied that Minnesota did go out and play well. And yes, a loss is a loss, and I'm sure Minnesota wanted to win. But if you're a Minnesota fan, you got to feel awfully optimistic of, going forward. Okay, well, we looked solid on offense. Defense bended a little bit late and maybe broke a little bit, but it's Ohio State after all. They're not an easy team to beat. So that was actually a really good game, and it was closer than 14 points. If you watched that game and no one told you the score, you would have thought for sure that would have been like a 3-point game. Or if you would have watched the first half and then heard the score, you would have thought it was crazy. But Ohio State turned it up late. So it was good to see college football. Tomorrow is the big day, first full Saturday in college football. We'll get to some of that stuff. But with all that being said, let's get to the topics for today's podcast. I wanted to get into the Nets signed Paul Millsap. The Brooklyn Nets have signed Paul Millsap to a contract. He has agreed with the Brooklyn Nets to sign with us. I want to get into this deal, what he brings to the Nets. And as a whole now, we kind of watched the Nets last year, we all know, and kind of what their bench looked like. And now we get an opportunity to really see kind of what the Nets look like now. We went out and got, Patty Mills. We might re-sign LaMarcus Aldridge if he clears everything with, health issues and all that stuff. He might come back, which is crazy to think. Just a couple months ago, he was retiring. We would never know if we would see him again in basketball. He looks like he's coming back. Nets could also maybe buy out Deandre Jordan. So there's a lot of moves that have already been made. There's a lot of moves that seem to still need to be made. But I wanted to get to this move, talk about it. This move reminds me exactly of a move that we made last offseason. And I believe he'll put up about the same production or similar to it from what this one player gave us last year. I wanted to get to that and get to Paul Millsap signing with the Nets. As I talked about to start off the podcast, Miami and the rest of college football starts this weekend. I want to get into a little bit of a Miami college football preview. Don't ask me how. I really don't, but I root for Miami when it comes to college football. I will always say this, though. I'll root for other teams. Clemson in national championship versus Alabama. I'll root for Clemson. I can't stand Alabama, and Miami plays Alabama. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a preview on Miami against Alabama and a little bit of a preview overall what to expect this season, kind of overall just what to expect from this Miami Hurricanes team. I'll tell you what, just off the bat, a blunt prediction. Miami, I think this team's going to be way better than last year's team. I think the defense is going to be much better. I think the fact that Manny Diaz is calling the plays again is going to create more of an aggressive style on defense. I think this Miami team is going to be surprised a lot of people. Is it going to go up there with Alabama? Probably not, but I do think we're going to surprise a lot of people. So we'll get to that. Then we'll get to the New York sports update and finish it all off. Yankees and Mets today. Yankees go for game 1 of the 3-game set against Baltimore. And the Mets play game 1 of a crazy weird series against the Nationals. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go check that series right now and see what it looks like. So it's a crazy weird series. They play like 5 games in like 3 days. It's super weird. So they play today, and then they have a doubleheader tomorrow, 1 o'clock and 6 o'clock Eastern. Then Sunday they have another doubleheader. And then, or Sunday they play, then Monday they play, which is rare to see a series leak into a Monday. Usually you see them all wrap up on a Sunday, and then the Mets head out to Miami. So the Mets super weird schedule. So they will play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games. So they'll start today, Friday, and they'll play until Monday. So 5 games in like 3 days. It's kind of weird. 2 doubleheaders. Saturday, a doubleheader, and then Sunday, a doubleheader, or Sunday a regular game, and then Monday a regular game. And then they head out to Miami for a couple games there. So a weird schedule for the Mets. It's weird. It's been weird all year. It started weird, and it definitely isn't getting any better. It's, if anything, it's ending weird as well. So they play, but hey, it's baseball. At least their games aren't getting postponed. At least they're getting these games in. But it is weird nonetheless to see all these double headers and to see playing a series that started on a Friday on a Monday. It's just Monday's usually an off day. Sometimes you play on Mondays, but it's usually an off day. Mondays and Thursdays are usually the days off in the MLB. Because you play on a Monday, and then if you play on a Monday, you play Monday through Wednesday probably, then you have an off day on Thursday. And then you'll start up a series on Friday. Now, there are times where you play on Monday, then you start up a 4-game set. That's common. That's not as common, but you see it happen. But you never see, like, Yankees will have a 4-game set against the Orioles from Friday to Monday. You don't see that. Monday's usually a day off, and then most of the series start on Tuesday through Thursday, and then Friday is like a weekend. That's how it is in baseball. But for the Mets, it's been all over the place. It's like the NFL last season. We had NFL games on Wednesdays. It was all over the place. But anyway, with all that being said, we got to get to the podcast. With all that being said, this is the BSN podcast, and let's get right into it. So former Nuggets power forward Paul Millsap agrees to contract with Nets. And yes, you've heard that right. The Brooklyn Nets have made another signing as they go out and sign Paul Millsap, power forward from the Denver Nuggets. And, the Nets this offseason throughout the NBA, there's still some moves being made. Some contract extensions, some contract negotiations, some moves, some rumors. What's going to happen with Ben Simmons in Philly? He seems to request a trade. Is Philly going to move him? Are they going to keep him? What are they going to do? There's still the Damian Lillard stuff in Portland, which I think at this point is all just a bunch of rumors and nothing's going to happen. But, what do I know? I've made some right predictions and I've made some wrong predictions over the years. So, if it was up to me right now, I'd probably say nothing's going to happen with Damian Lillard. I think he's expressed many times that he wants to stay in Portland. Now, does Portland make another move maybe to acquire a guy like a Ben Simmons or someone else? Maybe. But for the time being, I think he's staying there. But this offseason's been very active in the NBA. You've seen the Lakers make a handful of moves. You've seen the Nets the Lakers went out and made a slew of moves, which I disagree with a lot of them, but it is what it is. We've seen the Nets make a handful of moves, and I think there still are some moves to come with the Brooklyn Nets. You've seen some Knicks, the main team in New York, as we all know. The Knicks are the main team, or the main basketball team in New York. Then it's the Nets, but we've seen the other team in New York, and that's the New York Knicks. They've made some moves. I've always said this: Yankees run New York, but either way, back to my point. The Knicks made some moves as well. Signings of Kemba Walker, keeping Derrick Rose, re-signing this guy, bringing back this guy, bringing in Evan Fournier. They've made a couple moves here and there. So it's been an active offseason. But the Nets make another move. And, watching the playoffs and watching the Nets last season, now, I will tell you this. During the playoffs, the Nets had a serious issue on offense. And I think most of us can agree on that. Like, the Nets last season had an issue on offense where it was a big issue in the postseason, was their offense. But throughout the regular season and when they're healthy, it's not really offense. And I remember during the postseason of last year, I remember saying, never in a million years would I have thought that the offense of the Brooklyn Nets would have been my concern in the postseason. We all know Kyrie Irving going down, James Harden going down. It was left with Kevin Durant, a bunch of bench assets. But Kevin Durant and then James Harden, who ended up stepping up, they all had good games, and the offense ended up not being the problem. Just down the stretch, injuries and just the other team being better at that time was how the season ended up panning out for us, and we all know we lost to the eventual champions, Milwaukee Bucks. But the Nets, we know as Net fans and as Net players know this. Like, the biggest weakness with the Nets isn't the shooting. It's not really the passing or the turnovers or the sloppy play. which sometimes can come to teams trying to build super teams, trying to mesh together, but that really wasn't it. The biggest issue with the Brooklyn Nets last season was their rebounding and their defense. And we knew defense was going to be a struggle. We knew it was going to be. When you put three of the biggest names in basketball out there on the court, James Harden, not a great defender. Kyrie Irving, not a great defender. Durant, when he needs to, he can play defense, but him too, nothing special. We knew that defense was going to be the issue, and it ended up being a little bit of the issue, but the rebounding also was an issue. Deandre Jordan just having an awful season. For a guy that had such a promising season in 2019, with Irving went down, and he was like the main guy. He was having a really solid year, was putting up 10 boards a game. Last season was just terrible. He ended up getting benched. He ended up not playing. So we never got some help there. But then we went out and signed Patty Mills, and now we go out and sign Paul Millsap. And I get it, Paul Millsap, he's 36 years old, and I get it, he might not be the same player he once was. Now, let's be honest here. When Paul Millsap was in his prime, he was not a top 5 player in the league. He was not a top 10 player in the league. I think we can all agree that people saying, oh, he's out of his prime and he's not good anymore. Well, even when he was in his prime, he wasn't the best player in the league. He wasn't Kevin Durant. He wasn't James Harden. He wasn't a top 5 player in the league. What he was a solid defender and a guy that could give you about 14, 15 a night. He could start. He could play off the bench. He was a good role player. He could shoot a little bit. That's what he was. And he was an all-star, and he made All-NBA defensive second team, solid defender. So this is built. The Nets continue to build their bench with this move. And that's been one of the things with the Nets, is can they continue to build on their bench? Because we all know their bench has been an issue the last season. The bench was not our strength. The strength for the Brooklyn Nets was our shooting, was our passing, was our offense. The weakness, our bench, our rebounding, and our defense. So we continue to build off the bench here. We go out and sign Patty Mills. We go out, we re-sign Bruce Brown, who could play off the bench and start. We now signed Paul Millsap. There's a lot of rumors that LaMarcus Aldridge is going to come back, and if he does, the Nets are favorites to sign him, which would then lead to a contract buyout on Deandre Jordan. So little by little here, the Nets are building on their big weakness, which was the bench. And now you look at it and you're like, wow, this team really looks solid now. And this Paul Millsap signing reminds me a lot of a signing we made last year. And he gave us great production last season. I was actually really upset to see that he went and was not able to return to us. And that is Jeff Green. This signing reminds me a lot of Jeff Green. And it's actually kind of funny because Paul Millsap trades places with Jeff Green. Millsap was with the Nuggets. Now he goes to the Nets. Jeff Green was with the Nets. Now he's with the Nuggets. So they kind of trade places. And to be fair here, the Nuggets now find their new power forward in Jeff Green and their new depth addition, their bench asset in Jeff Green. And the Nets go out and find their new bench asset and their new other power forward in Paul Millsap. So they traded places. This signing reminds me a whole lot of what Jeff Green was when we signed him. Because when we signed Jeff Green, we all know Jeff Green's not an electric player. He's not going to go out there and give you 40 a night. He's not going to go out there and put up triple doubles night in and night out. What he is going to do, though, is going to be aggressive. He's going to score. He will score. He was about a 9-10 per game guy last season. And he is older. He's not the same player he once was, but he's going to give you some aggressiveness on defense. And most of all, he's going to give you high-quality minutes off the bench. That's what Jeff Green brought to the table for the Brooklyn Nets. And Paul Millsap in this situation, almost the same thing. He's going to go out, give you quality minutes off the bench. He's not going to light you up for 40 a night. He's not going to give you triple doubles and pass the ball and give you all these ball handling and all that stuff. He's not a flashy player by any means. He's going to be a depth addition, a guy that's going to be aggressive on defense. He's going to play good defense, and he's going to score a little bit. He's a veteran to a locker room that is got a lot of guys in it, but it never hurts to add another veteran in a locker room. Smart player, and ultimately a guy that has made a career out of playing basketball. And we've seen what he could do when he's out there. And everyone's going to talk about, the age. Well, when we got Jeff Green, he's 35 years old. Oh, the age. Yeah, Jeff Green was 35. Paul Millsap's 36. Oh, they're not good anymore. Well, Jeff Green last season put up 11-point game. Paul Millsap put up 9. So their numbers are so similar. The games played are similar. Field goal percentages are very similar. What Paul Millsap brings to the table is almost just like what Jeff Green, and that's good, because I said it. I loved Jeff Green last year for the Brooklyn Nets. When we signed him, I was like, okay, this is a signing. It's a depth of signing. I think as a Net fan, last offseason, before we made the run and everything, I think as a Net fan before last season, before the big, well, at the time it was the big two, before we went out and got Harden, I think we were all kind of just waiting to see what Harden and Kyrie could do together. All the other pieces were irrelevant. And then we got to see what Jeff Green could do and how he fitted in with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant and eventually going out and trading for James Harden. It was awesome. And I was upset to see Jeff Green was gone. And when we lost Jeff Green this offseason to the Denver Nuggets, like I just mentioned a couple minutes ago, I said we needed someone else to replace him. And that's what Paul Millsap brings to the table. I'm telling you right now, and maybe I'm wrong. And if we're sitting here, and if this time next year Paul Millsap is not a member of the Brooklyn Nets and he did not have a good year, I'm wrong. But what I will tell you this is Paul Millsap's going to do a lot of what Jeff Green did, and that's good. He's going to give you quality minutes off the bench. Well, Jeff Green gave us quality minutes. Jeff Green even, I think, started actually some games as well while we were really injured. I think he started some games as well. He's a veteran in the locker room. I've always said it. Locker rooms are similar to offensive lines in football. You can never have enough bodies on the offensive line in football. I've always said in locker room, you can never have enough veterans in a locker room. It doesn't matter if that locker room's experienced. It doesn't matter if that locker room has 10 veterans out of the 15-guy rotation or whatever. I don't care. You can never have enough veterans in a locker room. If you have 7 rookies in a locker room, well, you need veterans. Even if you have a lot of veterans in a locker room, just keep bringing veterans, guys with a lot of knowledge, and you put each player, chips in with a little bit of knowledge and stuff. That really helps out the team. He's going to give you some, like I said, not going to put up 35 a night and light you up and put up triple doubles like Russell Westbrook does night in, night out. But he's going to be solid. He's going to play defense, and he's a depth addition for a bench that was depleted at the end of last season and that we need. And now with the possible signing of LaMarcus Aldridge coming back and buying out DeAndre, if we just get rid of DeAndre Jordan, that in itself is an A+ move. Even if we don't go out and sign, we cannot do anything the rest of this offseason. If we go out and buy out DeAndre Jordan's contract, I will be ecstatic because, man, was he awful last season. He was awful. He was just, and even when he played, he was terrible. When he was benched, he was even terrible. He was finding a way to make a negative impact. He was just terrible last season. So it's good to see that he might get bought out. But Paul Millsap to the Brooklyn Nets. And you look at Jeff Green's stats last season. 68 games played, 27 minutes, 11 points, 49.2 field goal percentage, 3.9 rebounds, and 1.6 assists. Let's look at Paul Millsap's stats last season. Very similar as well. You look at here. 56 games, 20.8 minutes, 9 points, 47.6 assists, or field goal percentage, 4.7 rebounds, 1.8 assists. They both average around the same assists, points, field goal percentage. Millsap averaged a little bit more rebounds. I think Green played a little bit more games. Minutes, I think, was around the same. So you're getting pretty much what you lost in Jeff Green, you're gaining. And maybe he won't be as good as Jeff Green was, but he's going to be similar to it. Their play styles are very similar. In his career, Paul Millsap is a 13.7 point per game guy with 49% field goal percentage. When he was really in his prime, he had some seasons where he would get up to the 17s and 18s points per game, but his shooting percentage went down. He would take more shots. But you look at in the season, 11, 13, 17, he shoots it at a high clip. He's had some seasons where he gets all the way up in the 53% shooting. He shoots at a high clip. So a guy, too, is not going to miss a ton. He shoots at a pretty high clip in Paul Millsap. So you look at those stats, and then you go to Jeff Green's career stats, and they're very similar. And you look at them, and it's like Jeff Green, 12.8 points per game in his career. Field goal percentage of 44.4. So very similar in their games. They're very similar, and what you got in Jeff Green is pretty much what you're getting in Paul Millsap. And the Nets lose, but they gain. So solid move for the Brooklyn Nets. And as I said, the Nets don't need to go out and make any flashy moves. Like, Net fans this season that thought we were going out and getting all these big name guys. People, the Nets have their 3 big name guys. They got Harden, Durant, and Irving. They don't need anybody else. They just need bench pieces, rebounding, and a whole lot of defense. And we're getting there. So, solid move for the Brooklyn Nets. All right, let's read this quick article here. So, former Nuggets power forward Paul Millsap agrees to contract with Nets. Paul Millsap will join the Brooklyn Nets after the two parties reportedly agreed to a deal per Shams of the Athletic and Stadium. The forward played the past 4 seasons with the Denver Nuggets, re-signing with the team on a 1-year, $10 million deal in November, despite reported interest from over half of the league per Shams. Though he appeared in 56 games for a team that earned the number 3 seed in the Western Conference, Millsap saw a reduced role while averaging 9 points and 4.7 rebounds per game. The numbers were the lowest since his second year in the league in 2007-2008. They were low last season, like I said. But if he can honestly give us 10 points a night, 10 to 12 points a night, that's all we're asking for on the Nets. He doesn't need to go out and give us 15 a night. We get our scoring from other guys like the big 3. I don't even know why I say Irving, Durant, or Kyrie, or Irving, Durant, and Harden, because we all know that's just the big 3. So we're already going to get our scoring from the big 3. And the players around it, they just need to chip in here and there, and that's going to win us games. Like I said, that's why the Nets aren't going out and getting a guy that's going to put up 30 a night. We don't need that. We got that in Kyrie, Irving, and Durant. Or Kyrie, Irving, and Durant. Kyrie, KD, and Harden. That's what we're getting. The 36-year-old also mostly came off the bench for the final 3 months of the season, his first extended action in that role since 2009-2010. Like I mentioned, he does come off the bench a little bit. He's going to come off the bench here. So pretty much what you saw out of Millsap last season is probably the production and his role going to be with the Nets, if you follow what I'm saying. Despite the limited playing time, the 4-time All-Star showed he could still be a reliable contributor on both ends. He produced a .537 effective field goal percentage above his .514 career mark, while averaging a 1.6 steals and 1.1 blocks per 36 minutes. It helped the veteran rank 4th on the Nuggets in wins shares last season behind only Nikola Jokic, Michael Porter Jr., and Jamal Murray per Basketball Reference. Millsap will now try to make a similar impact for a team looking to bring home a championship next season. The Nets already have an elite lineup led by Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving, and they solidified the bench with veterans like Patty Mills and Blake Griffin. They added the added depth will make the team even tougher to beat, especially with someone who can help on the defensive end. Even if Millsap remains in a bench role, he should provide enough on and off the court to give the team a significant boost next season. And I think us Net fans can agree that's similar to what Jeff Green did for us last year. He gave us a bench boost. He gave us a much-needed defensive boost. Actually, I think he did more than what us Net fans expected. That's just me, personally. I think Jeff Green did more than Jeff Green exceeded my expectations. What I should say. He exceeded my expectations. What I saw of Jeff Green last year was better than I expected. And I think that's, what hopefully we're getting in Paul Millsap. And everyone's going to talk about, he's 50 years old and all that. Yeah, Jeff Green's 35. Paul Millsap's 36. It's a veteran on a bench. So we're losing Jeff Green, but we're gaining Millsap. That's what this deal. And comment down below and maybe I'm completely outrageous by saying this, but if you compare the numbers, if you compare their two playing styles, they're both forwards, they're both veterans. You're getting a very similar player that you got in Jeff Green that you're getting here in Paul Millsap, and that's what you need. In terms of, that's what you need if you're the Brooklyn Nets. Because, like I said, the Nets don't need scoring. We don't need playmaking. We don't need passing. We don't need lessons on how not to throw. No, we don't need any of that. What we need is defense and rebounding. And we're getting and depth. Depth, rebounding, defense. We got the defense. We're getting the depth. We're still figuring out the whole rebounding situation with our center. I would love to get LaMarcus Aldridge back, but we'll see how all that goes. So, little by little here, the Nets continue to build a foundation. Now I'm going to quickly read some of his other stats here, just to read more of his stats here, just to finish this off. Just to finish off this topic here. So Paul Millsap last season, 9 points per game, 4.7 rebounds, and 1.8 assists. In his career, he's played 1,052 games played, and he started 745. So a guy who has come off the bench a lot, and he's also started a lot, but a guy who is used to coming off the bench. Last season, came out of the 56 games he played, he came off the bench 36 of them. He's seen a little bit more of an increased bench role last year, but even in 2019-2020, and even in 2018-2019, in all of his seasons with the Nuggets, there was not, in his 4 years with Denver, there was not a season where he started every game. In 2017-2018, he started all but one game. In 2018-2019, he started all but 5 games. 2019-2020, he started all but 3 games. And last season, he started 30 games, he played 56 games and started 36. So he came off the bench in 20 of those games. And his minutes went down a little bit, but that's because he was coming off the bench. What you saw, kind of like I said, his role last season is in the general area of what he's going to do on the Nets. 28.6 minutes per game in his career, 49 field goal percentage in his career, 34.3 3-point percentage. He doesn't shoot many threes. Last season, he averaged only about 2 threes attempted per game, so he doesn't shoot many threes. Which, like I said, that's not what we need. That's not what we're asking for. Sure, if he could do it every once in a while, that'd be great. But we don't need Paul Millsap to light it up for us. 73.6 free throw percentage. To be honest, he does not get to the line much. In his career, he gets to the line about 4 times a game, which isn't much. Last season, he got to the line 1.8 times per game. So he barely got to the free throw line last season, which isn't bad because the Nets have that. Harden gets to the line a lot. Durant gets to the line a lot. Irving gets to the line a lot. They're good free throw shooters. So we don't, like I said, what we're asking out of him is to score a little bit and play defense. Not to throw 30 points per night out there and, win MVP and put up triple doubles night in and night out and pull Russell Westbrook. That's not what we're asking. We're asking just to give us solid production and depth. His rebounds in his career, 7.2 rebounds per game and 2.2 assists. But he averages about a block a game in his career, although that's a little bit of a weird stat because in his career he doesn't block much, but he averages a block per game, which isn't really is good, but he's not gonna be blocking much people. And he averages 1.3 steals per game. So, solid defense. And he's a career 13.7 point per game guy. And he's gotten better throughout his career. He went from 6 to 8 to 13, 11, 17, 16, 14, 17, 16, 17, 18, 14, 12, 11, 9. So he's decreased a little bit, but like I said, that's kind of what we're probably going to get out of him. And, people could sit here and say, he doesn't have this or that, or, he's coming off the bench and his age and that. Well, yeah, but that's all. We're only asking for him to do a little bit. Not a ton, a little bit, and it's a depth move. So Nets continue to build their bench with the signing of Paul Millsap. Alrighty, coming up next here, I wanted to get into Miami football and their season coming up. Miami, the Hurricanes, are looking to bounce back a little bit last season. We did not have a great year last year. Got to the cheese. At least we got to a bowl game. There's some teams that didn't even get to a bowl game. It stinks. Some teams weren't even really able to. Big Ten only played 6 games, so if you went 2-4 in those 6 games, you're not making a bowl game. You didn't have many opportunities. But ACC and Miami had a weird year last year. We're looking to bounce back a little bit more this season. I'll get to Miami, preview a little bit of them. Some overall college football talk, and much more of that coming up next. Alrighty, so you welcome me back here, and as we all know, this weekend is the start of the college football season. I'm super ready for it. It really is super exciting when college football comes around and you get, some of the big name teams like Alabama and all of them, playing, and it should be fun. Now, I wish that Miami didn't have to play against Alabama week 1, but it is what it is. That's how they did the scheduling this year, and, you just got to roll with the punches. Not everything's always going to be easy, so it kind of stinks that we're playing against Bama because I don't feel confident. Bama's 19.5-point favorites. I guess it's kind of poor fan of me to kind of go out and just not have any belief that we're going to win. It's not like Miami has been terrible the past couple years. We haven't been terrible, but there's just a part of me that just doesn't feel really optimistic going into a game against Alabama, who we all know how they are with their program over there and their success and Nick Saban, and I can't stand any of them, but it is what it is. It's just kind of how it rolls. But either way, Miami plays Alabama this weekend. There's a ton of college football games over the weekend. There's a couple really big ones. I'll name off a couple just to kind of give you an idea of all the big games this weekend. You got just the games and just the team starting up in general. Miami, Alabama, Clemson, Georgia. Oklahoma starts up. They're a big name team this season. We'll see how they do. You got Penn State, Wisconsin. That's a big early season top 25 matchup in the Big Ten. Indiana, Iowa, another big early season top 25 matchup in the Big Ten. You got Texas starting off there with their new coach over there. The former, I can't believe I forget his name now, but the former offensive coordinator at Alabama, Steve Sarkisian. So he's over there. A lot of really good games. You look at, just other teams. Notre Dame on Sunday, actually, against Florida State. They start up. Florida starts up. Texas A&M, Washington, LSU. LSU, UCLA. That's an interesting matchup. People believe that UCLA is going to have a good year this year. I believe with their quarterback over there, maybe if Chip Kelly can try to turn things around a little bit, maybe they have a good chance. But either way, that should be a good matchup. So there's a ton of matchups this weekend. And even if you get into some of the unranked matchups, with teams like, there's some other Big Ten matchups in there, and stuff like that. But there's a lot of really good games on this weekend. And it's crazy to say, like, I can't believe that I'm saying it, that football is back, and it's like, football is like, NFL is a week from today. Like, next week, it's game week in the NFL. As crazy as it might sound. There is going to be a New York Jets game next week. There is going to be a Thursday night football game next week. Like less than a week, there will be NFL football on that counts. Like, it's crazy. And same thing in college football. Tomorrow, even yesterday, but tomorrow there will be college football on that counts, and there will be big games on that really matter, and that's always great to see. So Miami starts up their season against Alabama, and I guess we can kind of say last season, it's not that it wasn't a good year for Miami, but it wasn't a season that we should really stay back on and be so super proud of, given that, we had some ups and downs. We won a couple really nice games against teams like Louisville, and we destroyed Duke. I know Duke isn't good, but we destroyed them. And I always say this in sports. Everyone can always complain, you crushed that. That is such a bad team. Yeah, but you did what you needed to do against that bad team. And if you get what I'm saying, it's like, if you play a really bad team and you barely beat them, well, it's a win, but there should be maybe some concern about, okay, if we can barely beat them, are we going to be able to go out and beat this team? Like, everybody always complains, like, oh, that's a terrible team. Well, yeah, but you went out and you did what you needed to do against that terrible team. So Miami did that last year against Duke. Louisville they beat. They had a couple nice wins there. They got crushed by Clemson, did not get the job done in their bowl game. So it was kind of a up and down season for what really was such a weird year in college football. And, we are lucky as Miami fans that Derek King and his torn ACL, that he's back. We are super lucky, because I'll tell you what, if he was not ready for this season, you can definitely count us out. So it's great to see that he's back. But what I'm looking, Miami, gotta, against Alabama tomorrow. We are lucky that it's a neutral site game. It's at Chick-fil-A kickoff game, so it's going to be at, I believe, Mercedes-Benz Stadium there in Atlanta. I guess I feel a little bit better about that, because it's going to be, on the road. It's going to be a neutral site. Technically, Miami's considered the home team, but it's a neutral site. It's going to be a game that, it's not like we have to go to Alabama week 1, packed house. Bryce Young's first opportunity at quarterback, taking over for Mac Jones, who got drafted 15th overall to the New England Patriots. It's at a neutral site, so that gives a little bit of advantage. But it's going to be interesting to see how Miami does this season. I think there's a big thing this season with Miami is how is the defense? Because I think a lot of us can agree that last year the offense wasn't really the issue for Miami. Deandre King actually put together a really solid season. A couple of our running backs had a solid year, had a couple solid seasons. I think Cameron Harris had a solid year. He wasn't anything special, but I thought he had a decent season for the fact that he led us actually in rushing. He had 643 rushing yards last season. He had 10 touchdowns as well. So last season, it wasn't really our offense, but it was our defense that was the big issue. And that's why I think Manny Diaz now, not why I think, we know pretty much, Manny Diaz is now going to take over the play calling as defense, take over the play calling again at defense. And I think as a Miami fan and as a fan in general, and if you're a college football fan, I think you got to realize, like, we're probably going to see a little bit more of an aggressive Miami defense, a little bit more of a defense with a little bit more of attack on their mind. Like, the other defense was more conservative, play back a little bit, don't rush the passer as much. When Manny Diaz was the defensive coordinator in Miami, our defense was really, really good. We blitzed a lot. We just rushed to the quarterback. We did a lot of just aggressive defense. And we got to the quarterback quickly, forced him to force a lot of bad throws with Gazar's secondary, golden opportunities to make big plays. And that's what we saw a lot with the defensive side of the ball. Last season, we didn't see that. Last season, our defense, I felt like, was kind of flat. Like, we got ran over by Oklahoma State in the bowl game. Got absolutely crushed by Oklahoma State in the bowl game in terms of just defense and in terms of slowing Oklahoma State down. And by any means, is not an electrifying offense. I believe they were without Chuba Hubbard that game as well. Their star running back over there got drafted. So, it's like Miami did not have a great year last year on defense. So I think this season you got to feel much better about what to expect on the defensive side of the ball. Because before Manny Diaz was the head coach, he was the coordinator. He was the guy that was running the defense. He was the guy calling the defensive plays. He was the guy spending the time with the defense. It wasn't anybody else. It was Manny Diaz. And we had one of the better defenses in the nation when he was there. And he's the head coach now to stop taking the play calls. Now he's going to play call it, and I think we're going to see much more of a better defense. And I know there's a lot of people out there that say, oh, what's going to happen with Deandre King? Oh, is he going to be okay? Oh, what's going to happen with him? I'm not concerned one bit about Deandre King and his... I'm not concerned one bit about him. I'm not concerned at all, oh, is he going to be, rusty? Is he not going to be the same quarterback he was? I'm not concerned that Deandre King's going to do that. Deandre King has been through a lot of adversity in his career. He's handled it all very well. This is just another little bump in the road for him. I'm not concerned at all that Deandre King is going to struggle. I'm not concerned at all. I think he's going to have a perfectly fine year. I mean, last season, there was a little bit there where a lot of people thought that he was going to be one of the top quarterbacks in the Heisman voting. And I think this year there's a chance that him, Spencer Rattler, I think you've always got to, say, Bryce Young, Alabama over there, DJ Uiagalelei, however you pronounce his name, the quarterback over there, Clemson, you always got to consider them. I think you got to always consider Deandre King as well as another Heisman candidate. Not saying he's going to go out and win the Heisman, but I think you got to say, okay, well, he at least has a decent shot at going out and I think being able to win and being able to be in the conversation of the Heisman and maybe some other rewards out there as well. And I'm actually really excited what's to come with this receiving core. We did lose Deandre Jordan and guys like that, but Mike Harley returns. Chaney Jr., who is a running back who receives a lot, solid out of the backfield return. Knighton. A lot of those guys I'm excited to see. I'm especially excited to see Mike Harley this season. He had a really solid year last year, put together 799 receiving yards and 7 touchdowns, had a really good season, just a really good under-the-radar season last season, and I believe this is a guy this season that could really burst out, really do well. He averaged 14 yards per catch last season. This is a big opportunity for him, to go out and have another big year. And I'm excited to see what he could do. He's a senior as well. This is his 5th season in college. Last year was by far his best season. The previous 3 years were 91 yards, 240, 485, 799. He's gotten better and better and better each year, especially the average per catch. The touchdowns have gotten better. The receptions, they've all gone better this season. I believe he's going to really explode. He's going to really explode this season. And if you look at Mike Harley's stats, he's a senior. It really is pretty crazy. Like, I always talk about this in sports, where if you look at a guy's stats, you could see the improvements over the years, or the getting better. But this is one of the rare cases where literally every season of his college career, he's gotten better. Mike Harley's first season, 2017, 9 catches, 91 yards, 10.1 was his average, no touchdowns, 19 was his longest. His second season, 21 catches, that's more than 2017. 240 yards, more than 2017. 11.4 average per catch, more than 2018, or more than 2017. No touchdowns, that's the same, but his longest catch was more. Go to 2019. More catches, more yards, more average, more touchdowns. His long was 1 yard less, but I mean, not a major drop off there. Go to 2020. More catches, way more catches, way more yards, better average, way more touchdowns, and his longest was 89. It's like this year, it's like a big opportunity this season. He goes from 57 catches, 799 yards, 14 was his average, 7 touchdowns, 89 was long last season. So now this year, it's like, wow, there's an opportunity. He can maybe surpass the 1,000, get up to the 900, maybe 1,000 receiving yard mark now that he is the true number one over there. And that's a big opportunity for them. And for Miami. And you look at this season, some of the other guys I've been looking at, I'm excited to see what Donald Chaney can do. He's a freshman, or coming back again this season. Cameron Harris, I'm excited what he can do. In terms of last season, he had a good year. I don't know if he's going to have the same role, but Jalen Knighton, I think an opportunity as well arises for him. And you look at some of the other guys. Mark Pope, he's probably going to be the number 2 behind Mike Harley. So Derek King's actually working with a pretty solid offense. He's working with a pretty solid supporting cast. A lot of these guys, one thing I noticed about Miami is it's not that consistency is the issue, but one thing I noticed with Miami that's the big thing is we have a lot of big play guys. Mark Pope, Harley. A lot of those guys are big play players. You even go to D. Wiggins, a big play guy. A guy who might not play much, but when he's out there, you're going to throw the ball deep and he's going to make a big play. You even look at our tight end, who's getting a bigger role this year, and that's Will Mallory. Now that Brevin Jordan's gone, he's in the NFL, or, where I forget, I'm not sure where he went, but he's gone. He's not on the team anymore. Will Mallory going to have a bigger opportunity. He's going to be the starter. He was kind of the backup. He's going to be the starter now. So a lot of really good opportunities. But Miami's a big play offense. They're not going to, do these little 5-yard checkdowns. They're going to throw the ball deep. When you're in there, if you're a receiver, you look at a lot of the Miami receivers. They're quick, and they get deep, and they go down one-on-ones. That's what Miami's play style is like. And as I mentioned earlier with the defense, you got to feel really confident about the defense. I think we're going to be much better this year on the defensive side of the ball. And I think there's a lot to be optimistic about with Miami. Now, in regards to tomorrow's game, it's not going to be easy. We're 19.5-point underdogs. We're the 14th ranked team in the nation. Alabama's the number 1 ranked team in the nation. 3:30 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. This is the matchup predictor. 80.4% of people think Alabama. So there's an 80.4% chance Alabama wins this game and a 19.6% chance Miami wins this game. So I'm hoping that 19.6% chance goes our way and it turns 19.6 turns into a win. But we will see. It's not going to be easy at all. Miami, the reigning national champions, they're a good team. I think one of the advantage that Miami has is that this is not a home game for Alabama. This is a home game for Miami. Not that matters, but it's a neutral site game. It's like I would feel more confident playing at a neutral site than having to go to Alabama, the first game, stadium packed, it filled, national champions, Bryce Young, Nick Saban, big school. Don't know how I'd feel about that. But neutral site, it's like, all right, no team has one big advantage. An opportunity for Miami just to go out there and play their game. In college football, every games really matter. Because if you start off 0-3 in college football, well, I can guarantee you what? Your college football playoff chances are out the window since there's only 4 teams. If you start off 1-2, you're done. Miami, if they start off 0-1, I don't think they're going to put themselves in too big of a hole if they start off 0-1. This is what's funny, is if Miami wins this game, they're going to go from probably 14 all the way into the top 10. But if they lose this game, they're probably only going to move about 1 or 2 spots back, if anything, because it's Alabama. They're not expected to win. So that's why I feel like in this game for Miami, as much as there might seem like there's a lot of pressure, it's not like their rankings on the line. Like if they lose this game and they lose by 2 scores, even if they cover and they keep it, if they lose by 2 scores, it's not like we're going to get affected much in the rankings because we're 19.5-point underdogs anyway. But if we win, we could go from 14 very well skyrocketing into the top 10. And then you look at Miami's schedule after that, and you got Appalachian State, Michigan State, Central Connecticut, Virginia, North Carolina, and North Carolina State. Like, a lot of wins. Now, North Carolina not going to be as easy, but Sam Howell over there, really good team over there. But, the ACC is not crazy strong. You have Florida State, rebuild. Duke, rebuild. Georgia Tech, Pittsburgh, all those teams rebuilding. It's not crazy strong. I found this was pretty interesting. Miami opens the season with a ton of home games, rather. A crazy amount of home games. Technically, tomorrow's a home game for us. Although it's at a neutral site, it's technically considered a quote-unquote home game. Miami, Appalachian State, we're home. Then we're home. Then we're home again, home. First road games is October 16th at North Carolina. That's like our first home game. Although tomorrow, or that's our first away game, Although tomorrow we're technically labeled as home, we're kind of away. But it's pretty crazy. We start off the season, we're home. Our first 5 games of the season, 4 of those actually being home, 1 of them being at a neutral site, but we're labeled as the home team. We're at home. First road game is technically going to be Saturday, October 16th at North Carolina. And then we're home again, then we're away, then we're home, then we're away for 2 out of the next 3 to end the season, I believe. Yeah, then we're away, then we're home, then we're away. So Miami has a lot of home games this year. But we do have the neutral site game tomorrow. So tomorrow, Miami, Alabama. Miami comes in 14th ranked team in the nation. Alabama number 1. If Miami knocks off Alabama, I will tell you this. The only thing that Miami has on Alabama that maybe will serve maybe as a little bit of an advantage. And we saw this last night with Ohio State and, Stroud over there and they're, without Fields, their new quarterback and all that stuff. The only way we could probably go out and upset Alabama is if we go out and their quarterback, Stroud, like Ohio State, Bryce Young struggles early. Maybe he's off to a slow start, the new offense. That's the only way. That's the advantage we do have. And we saw it last night with Ohio State. You got to hope that you see it with Alabama. Because if Miami can jump on them early, almost what Minnesota did, and unlike Minnesota, actually hold on to a lead, that's a big opportunity. So that's the one advantage we have. New quarterback over there at Alabama. Miami's got a returning Derek King, guy who's played many college seasons. A guy who's in his 6th year. It's crazy how long he's played. He's a senior, but he's played, this is his 6th season. So it's pretty wild how much he's played. So you got a guy that's been playing college for a long time, right? That's the only way. That's one of our big, that's one of our, if anything, that's our big advantage is young quarterback who's veteranized and very well could have been in the draft last season. But we'll see. We'll see how everything goes. You gotta figure it out. But I think Miami tomorrow, the key is if you want to win, you got to jump on them early. And their defense is really good. Offensive line's got to protect. They got to protect. Because their defensive line in Alabama is really good. Their secondary is really good. Everything's about Alabama is really good. But their pass rush is arguably the best in the nation. And our offensive line, who had maybe a little bit of struggles last season, we'll see. But it's a full off season. They were able to really commit, build chemistry together. We'll see how everything goes. I just hope that if we are going to lose, don't make it a 50,000 point game. At least be close. I want to win so badly. If we can knock off number 1 Alabama, as I talked about, if you lose tomorrow, it's not like the end of the. It's not the end. Not that I'm saying if we lose it's bad, but it's not like we're going to fall from number 14 in the rankings all the way down to 25. But if we win tomorrow, because it's Alabama, it's number 1. But if we win tomorrow, we could go maybe from 14 all the way to number 10, number 9. Especially if there's maybe some week 1, you catch a team sleeping. I mean, Clemson, Georgia, whoever loses that game is going to fall. So that's always a possibility. Any of these other games. And there's a lot of big games behind us, too, that teams could rise. So Miami's just got to go in and find a way to get it done. If it's ugly, I don't care as long as they just find a way to win. So I hope I'm wrong. I don't think that Miami wins tomorrow. I don't. I do believe we're going to have a solid season, but I don't think we're going to win tomorrow. And I hope I'm wrong, but Alabama, just with their defensive front and just their overall team over there, it's not going to be easy. But hey, Miami, if they come out firing on all cylinders, that would be great. But I hope I'm wrong, but I think Alabama wins. We'll see how everything goes. So that's what I got for Miami and their football. Let's get to the New York Sports Update here and finish it all off. Celtics and Grizzlies, by the way, make a trade. So this is okay. So this just came in. Nothing major, not a major trade, but Boston Celtics agree to send Chris Dunn, Carson Edwards, and 2026 pick swap to Memphis for Jonko Hernan-Gomez. So, okay. So, Boston gets Hernan-Gomez, and the Memphis Grizzlies will get Chris Dunn and Carson Edwards in a 2026 pick swap. So, Boston gets a big man and a rebounder. It's a small trade, but Boston gets a big man. And they lost Taco Fall. So that means anything. I don't know why I would even say that because Taco Fall didn't even play. But they did lose, so I guess to bench. Because they just gave that Williams guy a big extension over there. So they don't really need a major big, although I've said it. Big men, they're big. I mean, they're pivotal to a team. So if you can get a lot of big men, that's really good. Alrighty, so let's get to the New York Sports Update here to finish out the podcast. It's another packed podcast here on the books. Alrighty, so as for yesterday in the MLB, the Cubs won, Braves won, Indians won, Red Sox won, Giants won, Phillies won, and A's won. Mets also won yesterday 4-3. So the Mets moved to 66 and 67 on the season. Mets are slowly finding a way to dig themselves out of the hole. But I did say this a couple days ago. I said that this is their opportunity to win some games because they got an easy stretch on the schedule here. As for the MLB today, we got the Cubs, Pirates. I'll give Cubs the win. By the way, I don't know if you saw, but yesterday the Cubs won on a walk-off pop-up that got dropped in the infield. It reminded me just like the Mets-Yankees Subway Series where A-Rod popped the ball up to the second baseman and he slammed his bat on the ground, and the second baseman ended up dropping it, and the Yankees ended up walking off, and they beat the Mets in the Subway Series, which, that was something that you watch the highlights of that, you would not believe that he dropped it. It was a routine pop-up, and it wasn't even like he was misplayed it or anything. He was right under, just popped right out of his glove. And last night, it didn't pop out of the guy's glove, but it bounced in front of him, and you know how the infield is. Once it bounced on the dirt, it's done. So, Ian Happ has a walk-off error, which is pretty interesting to say the least. But as I've always said this, a win's a win. They don't ask you how, they just ask how many. So that counts as a win for the Cubs. It doesn't go down as a win. Oh, but we got lucky. No, it's a win. And for the Pirates, it's a loss. And the Cubs, in such a tough season for them, they get a win, and they should feel good about it because it's a win. But it's crazy how a routine pop-up can cause so much chaos to an MLB team. It really is. Alright, so as for some of the other stuff here in the MLB, Blue Jays, A's, I'll give Blue Jays the win. Red Sox, Indians, I'll give Red Sox the win. Phillies, Marlins, give Phillies the win. Reds, Tigers, give Reds the win. Rays, Twins, give Rays the win. Brewers, Cardinals, give Brewers the win. White Sox, Royals, give White Sox to win. Braves, Rockies, give Braves to win. Angels, Rangers, give Angels to win. Mariners, Diamondbacks, give Mariners to win. Let's see here. Dodgers, Giants, give Dodgers to win. And Cheaters, Padres, I'll give Cheaters to win. I don't even know why the Padres went out and signed Jake Arrieta. I know they need pitching help, but you're not getting help signing Jake Arrieta. And I'll tell you this, I don't even know why they continue to throw him out there. I mean, he is terrible. He's 5-12 this season with a 7.13 ERA. I mean, just terrible. And yet they're still pitching him and throwing him out there. Like, it's just, you can't do that. I mean, he's not the same pitcher he once was. Arrieta's only hurting himself. I mean, I'm sure he doesn't really care because he's got so many good accolades in his career, but a couple no-hitters and all that stuff, but he's only hurting his career numbers. I mean, his career numbers went from having a good ERA and stuff to having a 7.13. That's probably higher than his career ERA. I don't know why the Padres continue to throw him out there. They complain about how bad their pitching is, but if they throw a guy out there that can give you 2 innings and let 8 runs. That's what he's been doing this entire season. Alrighty, so as for the Mets, Nationals, Mets come in this game 66-67. Nationals come in this game 55-77. Mets got Rich Hill on the mound. He's 6-6 with a 4.11 ERA. And the Nationals got Nolan on the mound. He's 0-2 with a 6.57 ERA. The over-under for this game is set at 9. This comes on today, 7 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can find it on Mason, and you can also find it on SNY. 64% of people think the Mets will win. Give me the Mets. I do think they will win. Nationals not a very good team. Alrighty, as for Yankees and Orioles, Yankees come in this game 77-56. Orioles come in this game a brutal 41-91. 9 games away from having another 100-loss season. 9 losses away, I should say, from having another 100-loss season. This game comes on today, 7 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Yes Network. The one issue about this game, if it is going to be hard for Yankees, they're going up against, quote-unquote, the Orioles ace, I guess, if you want to call him an ace. He's a solid pitcher. John Means is on the mound for the Orioles. He's 5-6 with a 3.46 ERA, and the Yankees got Nestor Cortez on the mound. He's 2-2 with a 2.77 ERA. The over-under for this game is set at 9, and 86% of people think the Yankees will win. I'll say this tonight, especially tonight, and I've said it in the past about the Orioles. John Means is a solid pitcher. If the Yankees can just get past John Means and you get to their bullpen, boom, you're going to win. Because their bullpen is terrible. So give me the Yankees. I do think they will win. Alrighty, so let's get to college football. I already talked about the Miami-Alabama game. Some of the other AP Top 25 games that are on this weekend. North Carolina, Virginia Tech. I'll give North Carolina the win. Oklahoma, Tulane. Definitely Oklahoma. Penn State, Wisconsin. This is tough. Because I like what Wisconsin's got working over there with Graham Mertz and all them. They had a weird year last year. They had some moments, but they struggled a little bit. 6 games they only played in the Big Ten. With Penn State. This is actually an interesting matchup because Wisconsin didn't have a great year last year, and neither did Penn State. Penn State had a brutal year, actually. So both these teams are going into the season maybe better than what their rankings show, but they got to prove it. Give me Wisconsin. I think it's going to be close, though. Give me Wisconsin. I think it's going to be close. Penn State now will have back-to-back really close games in back-to-back opening years. Because last season they had a close game against Indiana to open the season. I think it's going to be close. Oregon, Fresno State. Give me Oregon. Let's see here. Indiana, Iowa. I like Indiana a lot, but Iowa's got a solid team as well. The Big Ten is always got good teams. Like, there's always good matchups. Even if you're unranked, Big Ten football games are always good. Give me Indiana. You know what? Yeah, give me Indiana. I don't think they'll cover, though. But I think give me Indiana. Cincinnati, Miami, Ohio. Cincinnati, Texas, Louisiana, Texas. I actually think Texas, as much as people make fun of Texas and say all bad things about Texas, I think with Steve Sarkisian over there, new quarterback, new kind of a little bit of a restart for the program, I think they're actually have a solid team this year. Iowa State, Northern Iowa, give me Iowa State. USC, San Jose State, give me USC. Florida Atlantic, Florida. Texas A&M, Kent State, Texas A&M. Washington, Montana, give me Washington. LSU, UCLA, LSU, but I think it's gonna be. I think LSU, but I think it's gonna be maybe closer than what people think. And Florida State, Notre Dame, which is on Sunday. Give me Notre Dame. Clemson, Georgia. Give me Clemson. That's 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ABC as well. Alrighty. So that's what I got for that. A lot of college football this weekend. First full Saturday back. Last weekend was exciting with some of the games on. There was just a couple. But this week's especially exciting because college football is like officially and really, really back. Alrighty, as for fantasy baseball, soon it will be fantasy football. But as for fantasy baseball, I'm currently losing 225 to 133. Today I've got going Will Smith, Matt Olson, Jake Cronenworth, Gene Segura, Marcus Simeon, Carlos Correa, Alex Bregman, Christian Yelich, Whit Merrifield, Austin Meadows, Manuel Margot, and Josh Harrison and Luke Voigt. And I got Alek Manoah and Nestor Cortez on the mound today. Yes, I made a roster move. I added Nestor Cortez today. He's kind of been my guy every time he starts. I pick him up. And an injury update is as followed. Not very good news here. So Garcia exited Thursday's loss to Giants due to hamstring and back tightness. Adam McKelvey of MLB.com reports. So not good news there. Hopefully he's back sooner rather than later. And Lou Trevino is also day-to-day. He's been a really good closer for me this season. Trevino back is expected to be available for Thursday's game against the Tigers. Matt Quahara of the San Francisco Chronicle reports. So that was an update yesterday, but he clearly did not pitch yesterday. So we'll see what's all going on with him. And yeah, like I said, I picked up Nestor Cortez as well. By the way, Garrett Cole, in that start he had against the Angels, which was just brilliant, 15 strikeouts over 7 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned, no walks. I think no walks was the most special thing about that. He had 37 fantasy points for me. So Cole now ranks second among pitchers, 20.6 average fantasy points. Just amazing. And this season, ERA now 2.73. If he's not the Cy Young favorite, then I don't know who is. And I know as Yankee fans, we shouldn't get all caught up in the individual awards because let's be honest here, the big award as a team, it's not about winning Cy Youngs and all this stuff. We want to win We want to win World Series championships. We don't care about MVPs and Cy Youngs. We want World Series championships. And I think Garrett Cole would say the same thing. He signed here to win a World Series championship. He did not sign here just to go and rack up on a bunch of individual awards, although those would be nice. He went here to win team. He went here to win team accolades, not to win individual things. So although that's the mindset, I definitely think he should be the Cy Young favorite right now. And still, we got a whole nother month to go of the season. Actually, exactly 1 month left in the MLB season. Because October 3rd, I believe, is the final game of the MLB season. So exactly 1 month left. Today is exactly 1 month. So that should be interesting. That should be good. Should be good down the stretch. And fantasy football, this time next week, I'll be talking about fantasy football and talking about who to start over the weekend, who to sit, who to start, who to sit, who to pick up, all that stuff. So fantasy football right around the corner. It's the best part of sports. It's like football season starts up, baseball season gets into its best part, which is playoffs. Fantasy football just starting up, and fantasy baseball get into the playoffs. If you're in the playoffs and fantasy baseball, I'll have coverage on both of those leagues as well. So yeah, Yankees today against the Orioles, and a 3-game set over the weekend, and the Mets a very weird, 5 games over the weekend that will finish off on Monday. So if you're a Met fan, you got a lot of baseball over the weekend, and if you're a Yankee fan, you also got a lot of baseball as well. 3 games against Baltimore. As a Yankee fan, you got to expect a sweep. Yeah, as for that, we also got college football over the weekend, so a ton of sports on this weekend. There should be no complaining that there isn't sports on. Sports are back. We're in full swing, and baseball and college football all throughout the weekend, so a lot of sports to watch. And that'll do it. Next week, I'll be back at it full-time, Monday through Friday. Apologize, I took off yesterday. I just wasn't able to do a pod. Had to move the setups and all that stuff, so that'll do it. Comment down below your thoughts on this new little setup here. I might still make changes and change it, but for today's pod anyway, this is where I was situated. Like I said, I still might make changes, but we'll see how everything plays out. So that will do it. As always, as you all know, I take breaks on the weekend. So everybody enjoy your weekend. It's Labor Day weekend. I will see you all back. I will do a pod on Monday. Even though it's Labor Day, I'll do a pod on Monday. So I will see you all back here on Monday. And, everybody enjoy your weekend. A lot of great sports on over the weekend. Enjoy the baseball. Enjoy the college football. take it all in. It should be exciting. With all that being said, that will do it. And yeah, as always, I'll see you all back here. Enjoy your weekend. I'll see you all back here on Monday. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.